Earth Mother, please send me.
Well, hello. Thanks for joining me. I was just reading Hello Goodbye by Schildkret, and you all are here. Welcome to another episode of Wilderness Tourist Shmita Slowdown series. Thank you for joining us. In this series, we are talking to world and Jewish changemakers to talk about the power of Shmita through live conversations. Shmita, the sabbatical year, a cultural reset, a release, it means release in Hebrew. And it's the last year out of a 7-year cycle. Today, and this year is the Shmita year, and it's an opportunity to rest, renew, and transform. At Wilderness Torah, we're taking stock, clarifying our purpose, and planning the building, the design for the Center for Earth-Based Judaism. We call it the Shmita Slowdown, to ramp up. My name is Simcha Schwartz. I'm the Director of Development at Wilderness Torah, and I'm thrilled to welcome my friend, author, teacher, Schildkret. And before we just jump in, I want to let you know on the live stream in the chat, if you have any comments or questions throughout this conversation, put them on in there, and we'll do our best to answer them. Day, thanks for joining us.
Happy to be here.
A little bio of Day. Besides winning The Price is Right 5 years ago with me by his side, Schildkret is an internationally renowned author, artist, and teacher behind the Morning Altars movement. He's inspiring tens of thousands of people to make life more beautiful and meaningful through ritual, nature, and art. BuzzFeed called his work a celebration of nature and life. With nearly 100,000 followers on social media and sold out workshops around the world, installations, trainings, and public speaking events, Day is a thought leader devoted to healing the culture by teaching people to ritualize the big and small moments of our work and lives. Just released Hello Goodbye, 75 Rituals for Times of Loss, Celebration, and Change. It's hitting #1 on Amazon for teens and parents. Everyone could read this book. We're going to get into it a bit. Day, give us some place. Where are you? How are you? What did I miss in your intro?
Who am I? How am I? Where am I? You didn't miss anything. I love the Price is Right edition.
Yeah. I'm surprised it's left out of your formal bio online.
It's just for the special few that know. I'm in Portland, Oregon. I am coming off of a week and a half, 2 weeks of a book launch, which is exhilarating and exhausting, just like a birth.
Mm-hmm.
And happy to be with you and with this community, which I consider to be my community. And when I heard you were doing a Shmita series, and we talked about it, I have a chapter in my book about sabbaticals, so it just felt like a perfect fit. I am, my friend, on a ritual renaissance right now. I'm looking to bring ritual into the mainstream culture, because as we're going through major personal and collective change, we need more resources in order to make sense of what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And ritual is a ancient technology. It's a tool that we have as humans to make sense and understanding and meaning as life changes. So happy to talk about ritual, and I'm happy to talk about sabbaticals.
Incredible that you chose sabbatical as one of them. I know there are many life moments, and you chose sabbatical to be in your incredible book here. Yeah. You call it a ritualized reset. What I was touched by a lot in this chapter that I'll get to, but Shmita serves as a cultural reset button that reminds us that life is so much more vast than what we can make of it, and that even the act of creation must have boundaries.
I write that?
You did. And
All right.
it brought me back to Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel that said, the key to progress, I'm paraphrasing, is rest.
Yeah.
And that's, rebellious in this capitalistic world to encourage people to rest and maybe take a whole year.
Yeah. I mean, any
please.
moments. Okay, so let's back up a little bit. I mean, so this new book is called Hello, Goodbye. And it's called that because I'm talking about threshold moments of endings and beginnings.
Mm-hmm.
Think of it like we talked about this word. I just mentioned this word threshold. Most people think of it as a doorway. It's a whole other story. If we had more time, I'd go into the etymology of the word threshold. But it's a doorway where we're leaving something behind and we're entering into something new. And this doorway swings in both directions. Hello, goodbye, leaving, arriving, endings, beginnings. Most of us in this dominant culture speed through that door. We are threshold illiterate. We don't know how to approach that doorway. The thing I keep on hearing you say, Sim, is about slowing down. This is the proper movement to approach big and small moments of change, because you're about to change. So don't rush through that doorway into a new life or a new way or a new world or a new relationship or whatever. That doorway is asking us to slow down, and so is ritual. That is one of the primary functions of ritual, is saying, be prepared to stop. Just like the signs say on the street, be prepared to stop, slow down. So sabbatical is one of those ritualized moments of something's changing. You're leaving something behind and you're entering into something new.
Yeah. Our culture is so phobic of resting.
Yeah.
There's because stuff comes up, not the easy stuff all the time.
Well, because we're not in control.
Mm-hmm.
That's the biggest reason. And we're in a culture that's competency addicted. So we're always feeling like we need to be in control all of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So rest, release is all about surrender and not being in control. And that's a very, very, I know in my own self, that's a very, very hard thing. As a Jew, it's a very, very hard thing to let go of those reins. A lot of anxiety might come up. A lot of, longing for control comes up. So that's why ritual helps to orient us. It can hold the wholeness. It can hold the anxiety. It can hold the fear, the questioning, the doubt, and also the dreaming and the desires and the trusting. We'll go into it in a bit, but the ritual I created for sabbatical is a way to hold the wholeness of what comes up for sabbatical.
Why? Day and I go way back. We go deep quick. So we're already there. And I appreciate that about you and us. And looking at the ritual and a lot of rituals in the entire book, they're deep, yet they're a low bar to get into.
Yeah.
And I was touched by it. It's like you're telling the audience, just open the door.
Yeah. Well,
like
the equivalent,
crack it open.
The equivalent, I keep on talking about this book like it's a cookbook.
Uh-huh.
This is not necessarily a book that sits at the edge of your bed, you're reading every night, and then you're done. This is a book that lives on your bookshelf, and you pull it out when you want to cook up a ritual. But it's the same exact thing as making food. Sure, you can make an elaborate feast. You can make a Michelin-starred meal, but you could also cook up some omelets. And ritual has the same kind of function. You could do an elaborate ritual.
Yeah.
You could also do, if you're hungry to make meaning, you can do something immediately. And so really what I'm trying to do is give people the empowerment to say that, if you need to make meaning, you can do it. It doesn't have to be elaborate. And rituals carry this interesting function of being traditional and remembered, but also being renewed and reinvented. Just like recipes. Recipes are passed down and they're renewed and fusioned and reinvented. Recipes come from someplace and they're reinvented in new places. So rituals are very similar. We carry rituals, and as Jews, We've all been born into a culture that is deeply, deeply learned in ritual, but they have to be relevant. We're facing new problems in these times. We have to reinvent our rituals to face the times that we're in. So, rest, for instance, may not have been a major problem for our ancestors. I don't know, but I can pretty much assume that most of us listening to this struggle with rest, with resting enough. We're all overworked, we're overwhelmed, we're overscheduled, we're doing so much, and we're in a culture that wants us to be on all of the time. So, as you said, rest is a radical proposition.
It is.
And the
And
word radical etymologically means roots, rooted. It's a rooted proposition. Thank God we come from a culture where our ancient ancestors understood rest as a radical proposition, deeply embedded, hidden, but essential for the life of the plant or the life of the culture.
yes, thank goodness. And that they've passed it on, and there's quite a
Well,
many
they've passed
books.
it on, but I mean, Shmita does not get a lot of airtime in the mainstream Jewish community.
Before, I would say 10, 15 years ago, it wasn't even mentioned. I never heard about it growing up.
Yeah.
And I do attribute it to the Jewish earth-based, ecological, farm-based movement of introducing it more. And about 15 years ago, which I was a part of at the Isabella Friedman Retreat Center in Connecticut, and the mainstream world caught on because people were attracted to it, and they realized that this is a key, like you're saying, to progress. It's still very hard to implement.
Very.
And I'm thinking about the parents out there. I'm a new parent of a wonderful baby, but I know children are overprogrammed these days. And my parents, when I was in college, I was like a sophomore or junior, and I'm like, I'm not getting much out of this. I need a break. Like, I need a break. I will just stay in the town and work. I was learning so much just by being a waiter. And they were like, Sim, we're paying 4 years. If you don't do it in these 4 years,
Get on
it's
the
on you.
hamster wheel.
And I was grateful that they paid, but they were, these 4 years, if you go off the wheel, it's on you.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
but
shit.
here's the question. The
Yeah.
question is why is that so scary for a lot of people, for a lot of kids? Why is that scary?
Mm-hmm.
It's scary to be able to say no to the familiar.
Mm-hmm.
It's scary to say no to the rhythm that you're in, to the
Yep.
routines that you're in. It's scary to say no to something mysterious, to something unknown. I think you're maybe you and I mentioned right before we got on that I quoted in the book a young girl.
Yeah, it's right here, the gap year.
Yeah, so I was gonna read that if you're open
Please.
to it.
And mention, please, reference to who this person is
And I
that you got
believe
to talk to.
the woman that I'm about to mention is involved in the Wilderness Torah community. So it's amazing that this ended up in this place. I spoke to quite a few people about their sabbaticals, but one of the most interesting stories I heard was from an 18-year-old high school valedictorian in her gap year, about her gap year. Lily, a self-described go-getter, overachiever, fiercely competitive student, referred to school being like a religion of sorts, where if you do well, you can and you where if you do well enough, you can get into your Ivy League heaven. At first, Lily had it all figured out. Her plan was to get into her top school, check, intern at all of the best government institutions, check, check, graduate magna cum laude, eventual check, and launch her power career. Her overachievement was her identity, and she held it high like a trophy for everyone around her to see. But as the conveyor belt pushed Lily forward, she hesitated. Something inside her knew she needed a break. Like most of us, she'd been in school for most of her childhood and didn't know who she was outside of that structure. Quote, I just didn't want to jump into more school and into a life that I didn't know if I wanted, she said. So she applied for a gap year, a year off to explore if there were other paths different than the single runway that she'd been readying for takeoff. To her disappointment, Her university refused her deferral, and she was left to choose between continuing on with her original plan or giving up her slot and letting go of everything she used to orient her young life, her ambitions, and her sense of self towards. Lily took the gamble, chose the gap year, and leaped into the unknown. She said the gap year felt like, quote, running into the ocean under a full moon. No set path, just a wide, wide open expanse where only possibilities existed. Such a beautiful, for an 18-year-old to talk about her life in that way, it's quite a remarkable thing.
Profound. Maybe a little
and courageous.
Mm-hmm.
You know, anyone knows that a career shift or a move or anything that you're shifting courses is a courageous move. It takes a lot of courage to say no to something that you've longed for in the interest of something that you don't know that you want. She said yes to something mysterious. It's quite remarkable. You know, she doesn't know what she's getting from the gap year, but she knew she couldn't continue on doing what she was doing. So this is an excellent model of courage in the face of mystery.
Yeah. She both listened to that small voice that got loud in her. And she also understood that sabbatical is not a vacation, which you also state in the book.
Yeah. Yep.
That it's a return, crucial to all rites of passage.
Yeah, I wrote this. So this recipe in the book that I wrote, I call it the taking a break ritual. There it is. I wrote these rituals like recipes, so they have a prepare, they have a begin, they have a conclude parts to them, kind of what you need, etc. But here's the inspiration, Sim.
Yep.
Our life binds us. Our responsibilities bind us. Money binds us. Our marriages bind us. Our work binds us. To the point where sometimes we don't know who we are without all of these things. We're bound to them. So much so that, you know, many of us are bound to these things until we die or until retirement. And a lot of people struggle with retirement as a life transition. They don't know who they are outside of their work. So the inspiration behind the ritual, every ritual has something called symbolic action, meaning you can't think a ritual. You have to do a ritual with your hands, your feet, your mouth, your belly. And the symbolic action is the externalization of something. So tearing, ripping, submerging, breaking, binding. So in this ritual, the symbolic action that came to me was about binding. Binding and breaking the binds. So I want to read you a little bit, if you're open to it.
Absolutely.
Some of the inspiration for the bindings.
Yep.
So the ritual is you're the person taking the sabbatical.
Yep.
And you're doing it in front of witnesses, in front of friends who are not turning away from, but turning towards what you are proclaiming in this ritual. So there are 9 bindings. That could be your feet, your hands, whatever. And each one of them has a prompt. And I think I'd like to read the prompts because I think that they're powerful. So the first binding asks you, name the work or school responsibilities that have bound you. And then there's one wrapping of the cord. The second binding is name the family obligations that have bound you. The third, name the tech habits that have bound you, your technology habits. The fourth, name the ways your schedule has bound you. The fifth, name the ways that your or other expectations have bound you. The sixth, name the ways money has bound you. The seventh, name the ways your ambitions and goals have bound you. The eighth, name the ways your beliefs have bound you. And the ninth is name the ways your fears you have of leaving have bound you. So in this ritual, it's a binding of, and then the second part is the cutting of the cord. So I'm not going to read all of it, but I'll give you one as an example, which is the first release, which is I release myself from these responsibilities of work. That's the first one. I release myself. So this is all about taking the binding and releasing, literally the symbolic action into sabbatical or into Shmita.
Thank you. I can't help but think this is just a major theme of the Jewish people and the Israelites and the whole story of from creation of Sinsum, contraction, expansion, contraction, expansion. It says that's how this world was created. Spirit contracted and then expanded. That's how birth is.
Yeah.
The Exodus from Egypt, going through the sea, contraction, expansion. And then how do we remember that on a daily basis? Many people bind, and you refer to this, bind their arm with the tefillin and put it on their head as a reminder.
Here's
So
the thing I want to acknowledge, though.
yeah,
Whether it's Shemitah or sabbatical or Shabbat, by the way,
yeah,
it's very easy. It's too easy to enter into these times and to find your way back to the old things. For instance, it's very easy to enter into Shabbat, have good intentions, but find your way back on the computer or sending an email or on the phone. It's very easy to be on sabbatical and to just shoot one work email, right? It's very easy in Shemitah, all of the rules of our ancient rules of Shemitah, it's very easy to kind of turn back in a way towards the things that we were doing. But that's not release. That's not what release is. Release is an actual break. You can't have one foot on one side of the door and one foot on the other. You're straddling. You got to fully step in. That's the whole point of ritual. You're externalizing the move. You're cutting the cord so that you can see what you're releasing what you're being released from, and you're being witnessed in that. So you're not holding just yourself accountable, but your people are holding you accountable.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
We're speaking, we spoke to the parents. We're speaking to the individual. What about the CEOs, right? The executive directors of organizations that are in charge of a machine, a big machine that are dependent upon the workers.
Mm-hmm.
How could we encourage them to provide sabbatical for their paid sabbatical for the people?
I have no idea. That's beyond me, my friend.
Yeah.
I'm a ritualist. I can help people in the choice, but I can't help CEOs encourage their workers to pay.
Well, I will just say you are doing that by saying the key to progress is rest. By encouraging people to be connected with this rhythm that is more than human.
Mm-hmm.
It incorporates human, but it's more.
Mm-hmm.
It's how to be really alive. And I would like to say if we're able to, the workers of the world, whatever, able to feel that, they will then do better at their work. They'll be hopefully more fueled, more recharged.
Yeah, I mean, you're contending with one of the core features of a dominant culture, which is growth.
Mm-hmm.
So, that is one of the reasons I put this in my book. A lot of life transitions got left out. This one got left in because I believe in the power of sabbaticals and how essential they are for healthy life transitions. Same with Shemitah. I believe in that. It's terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
It really is to take a break from your family or your work or your routines.
Mm-hmm.
There's terror in that. We formulate our identities around these things. Like, who are you? Oh, I'm the marketing, or I'm the development director. I mean, that's how people answer
Mm-hmm.
when they're asked, who are you? They answer with their job.
Yeah.
or I'm a father. You know, so taking a break from something basically redirects the question, who am I? And to be able to sit with that question and not answer it,
Hmm.
and to take in this amazing miracle that is life. Who am I? Where am I? What is this? Do I want to continue going in this direction? I mean, those are the gifts of sabbatical and
Yeah.
Shmita, right? They let us wonder, right?
Yeah. We have a question from the audience,
Yeah.
and they're wondering what kind of personal rituals is Day, embracing these days.
I mean, you know, being a ritualist and writing a book on ritual, it's like every opportunity I get, I try and perform a ritual. A man by the name of Arnold van Gennep, who's an ethnographer from about 100 plus years ago, coined a phrase, pivoting towards the sacred. So this is the thing about that amazing phrase, is that anything could be made holy.
Hmm.
Anything, your cup of coffee, your shower, your phone call with your mother. I mean, anything could be, you could pivot towards the sacred in that. But sanctifying those moments makes them different, because you're asking yourself deeper questions about it. So for instance, you know, a cup of coffee, I can have just a regular cup of, while writing this book, by the way, I did a morning and an evening routine, ritual that I'd like to share in response to that question, which is before I went to bed, I'd take out my morning filter for my drip and a pencil, and I would write a reminder to my morning self. So while making that coffee, something that I needed to remember. And I would do the same thing, by the way, in the morning. While drinking that coffee, I'd write a note to my night self and I'd put it under my pillow about something I would need to remember. And that's a pivot towards the sacred. It's taking just a routine experience. Routines are not rituals, by the way, very different. It's taking a routine experience and pivoting towards memory. What do I need to remember about my life right now? What do I need to remember about spirit? What do I need to remember about my family, my community, my
Hmm.
vision? That's a pivoting towards the sacred, is remembering.
Thank you. We just have a couple minutes left, and I'd like, if you can, share some closing comments around being witnessed and the importance of the collective. We're so, especially with the COVID reality, alone.
Yeah.
And hopefully those bounds are going to open up more. Like, why is it so important to have witness or a minyan?
So for instance, you know, I've been talking about this book like a cookbook.
Hmm.
You could easily make a meal by yourself for yourself. But those of us that have shared meals know that there's something sacred about sitting around the table, having communion together, companionship. So the same thing is true about witnessing. You can walk through these life transitions alone. I do a lot of them myself, and there's nothing wrong with that. But being in the presence of others that care about you, that could hold your hands, look you in the eye, and say, this is happening. I'm not turning away from you right now. I'm staying with you. That's a very sacred act. And by the way, there's an author by the name of Bayo Komolafe. He's an African author. He coined a phrase that I absolutely love. It's called witnessing. Witnessing, to stay with someone, no matter what's coming up, the fear, the doubt, the anxiety, and also the hope, the praise, the beauty, to stay with someone as they're changing. I mean, there's nothing more holy than that.
Thank you. The power of Bernie Glassman is what I just said, who wrote the book Bearing Witness,
Mm-hmm.
and took people all around the world to bear witness to the struggles.
And especially to the concentration camps, right?
Yes, he did. And if one has the capacity to bear witness, we all have the capacity, but in that particular day is a holy act.
It is.
Thank you for sharing that.
And you know, what does it mean to bear witness is to stay with.
Stay with. Brother Day, teacher friend, thank you. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have today.
Maybe your audience wants to get the book because it just came out.
That's right. Amazon.com. Is that right? Or could you also share your websites?
Yeah, you can get this. I can sign the book at my website, which is
Mhm.
Morning Altars, morning like this morning, altars, altars.com/shop. Also my name, dayschildkret.com. You can get the book. And Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and really your local bookstore because we want to support local bookstores. So, yeah, I'm very proud of this book. I'm very humbled by the praise I'm receiving. And really, I'm interested in a ritual renaissance right now to help people mark their lives and mark this changing time that we're in.
Well, we at Wilderness Torah are stoked to support it.
Thank you.
By the way, I'm in the book.
What chapter, Sam? In what chapter?
In Rituals Before Becoming a Father. Check it out. And also, everyone out there, thank you for joining us. To learn more about Shmita Slowdown work of Wilderness Torah and the creation of our founding vision, the Center for Earth-Based Judaism, visit our website, wildernesstorah.org. Follow us on social media. You can participate in the design process of the Center for Earth-Based Judaism by filling out an interest form on our website. Our first in-person design gathering will be February 20th. So sign up real soon. And join us for another Shmita Slowdown series Facebook Live in a couple weeks. Thank you so much, Day Schildkret. Thank you. And a mazel tov on the book and being a contestant on The Price is Right.
Yeah,
Take care. Thank you.